The phone slipped from Elena's hand and clattered across the hospital floor as her mother's last voicemail replayed on speaker, a trembling whisper, broken by fear. "Sweetheart, if you're hearing this, he found me. I tried to run. Don't trust him. Don't trust." A crash echoed in the background, followed by a single sharp gasp. Then silence. Elena froze, her breath sliced in half. Her mother had left that message 10 minutes before being pronounced dead. Cardiac arrest, the doctors said. No signs of struggle. But Elena had just heard the struggle. Her husband, Michael, stepped behind her with a gentle hand on her shoulder. Too gentle. Too practiced. "Elena," he murmured, voice coated in calm. "Don't listen to that." She was confused. She was sick. But Elena didn't look at him. Her gaze was fixed on the phone, on the final second of the voicemail. A faint breath, and a soft, unmistakable word. "Run." Elena slowly turned to face her husband, the man her mother said not to trust. And he was smiling. Elena drove home from the hospital with the voicemail playing in her head on a cruel loop. Every breath, every tremble, every thud in the background carved itself into her memory. It didn't feel like a goodbye message, it felt like a warning. The moment she opened the apartment door, Michael was already standing in the living room. He still wore the same shirt from the hospital, but somehow he looked fresher, calmer, controlled. "Elena," he said softly, "come here." She stepped back instead. He tilted his head, studying her in that slow, calculating way he always did when he wanted to read her mind. "You're shaking," he murmured. "Let me hold you." She didn't move. His eyes flickered, a flash of irritation before he smoothed it away with a practiced smile. "Elena, come here." His voice wasn't soft anymore. It carried weight, expectation, but she walked past him, straight to the bedroom, shutting the door behind her. Only then did she let herself collapse on the edge of the bed. Her mother died today. Her mother died afraid. Her mother died whispering, "Don't trust him." And now Michael was hovering like a shadow waiting for permission to swallow her whole. She buried her face in her hands and sobbed silently, the kind of grief that comes from loss mixed with terror, confusion, guilt, and doubt. After several minutes, she pulled herself up and looked around the bedroom. Everything here was a reminder of him. The framed photo on the wall, Michael kissing her temple at their engagement party, the perfume on the dresser, the one he insisted she wear because it made her smell obedient, the soft blue sheets, his favorite color, not hers. He had rearranged her life long before she noticed. And now her mother's voice was telling her she had noticed too late. A knock on the door. "Elena?" He didn't sound worried. He sounded annoyed. She wiped her tears quickly and opened the door just a crack. Michael stood there holding a tray with pasta, her favorite, and a glass of water. "Elena," he said, "you need to eat." His kindness didn't comfort her. His kindness felt like a trap. "I'm not hungry," she whispered. His jaw clenched, just barely, but enough to send ice down her spine. "Elena, you haven't eaten all day." "I said I'm not hungry." The silence that followed was too long, too heavy. Then he set the tray down on the nightstand and leaned in, face inches from hers. "You know," he said quietly, "your mom wasn't well. She said things, wrong things, things that hurt people. She swallowed hard. She wouldn't lie to me." He smiled with a small shake of his head. "Oh, sweetheart, love makes us blind." He kissed her forehead, coldly, mechanically, then walked away. But as he left the room, she noticed something. He locked the door from the outside. Her heartbeat stopped. She turned the knob. It didn't open. And for the first time since the voicemail, Elena felt true fear. Morning sunlight woke her. The door was unlocked again. The pasta was cold. Her phone, gone. She ran through the apartment, panic pounding in her chest. She checked the nightstand, the kitchen counter, the couch cushions, nothing. As she turned toward the hallway, Michael appeared, holding a cup of coffee and her phone in his hand. "Looking for this?" he asked lightly. She tried to take it, but he pulled it back. "You shouldn't listen to that voicemail anymore," he said. "It's making you hysterical." She froze. "How do you know what was in it?" she whispered. Michael blinked, slowly, too slowly. Then he slipped the phone into his pocket. Elena felt something in her snap, fear turning into urgency. She grabbed her keys and left without a word, heart racing as she drove to her mother's house. She hadn't planned anything. She just knew she needed to be somewhere he wasn't. Her mother's house was quiet, warm, frozen in time. The coffee mug from yesterday still sat on the table. Her knitting needles still lay beside the couch. The faint scent of lavender lingered. Elena sat on the sofa, hugging a pillow, letting the safety of this home wash over her. Then she remembered her mother's last words in the voicemail. "He found me." She started searching the house, drawers, closets, shelves, looking for anything, any clue, any message. In the bedroom, she noticed something strange. The rug was slightly crooked. Her mother was meticulous. She didn't leave things crooked. Elena knelt and lifted the rug. A loose floorboard. Her heart jolted. She pried it up and found a small wooden box taped beneath it. Inside was a USB drive, a folded letter, a copy of a restraining order, and a photo. A photo of Michael. Younger, with someone else, someone who looked terrified. Her mother had hidden evidence. Evidence she died for. The letter trembled in her hands as she opened it. "Elena, if you're reading this, the man you married is not the man you think. Start with the woman in the photo. She tried to warn me too." Elena's knees gave out. Her mother had been investigating him. Her mother died investigating him. When she stepped outside with the box pressed to her chest, she noticed a dark sedan parked down the street. Michael's car. And this time, he wasn't pretending not to watch. His eyes were locked straight on her. Elena's fingers trembled as she clutched the wooden box tighter. The cold morning air brushed her cheeks, but the real chill came from the man seated inside that black sedan. Michael's expression was flat, unreadable, but his eyes were razor blades. She stepped off the porch, heart pounding like a trapped animal, and headed for her car. She didn't look at him, didn't break stride, but she could feel him watch every single step she took, calculating, memorizing, assessing. When she turned the key in her ignition, the sedan's headlights flicked on. He followed her. He tailed her the entire way home, sometimes keeping distance, sometimes closing in. Every time she glanced in her rearview mirror, that black sedan was there like a shadow she couldn't outrun. She drove slower, hoping he'd go around. He didn't. She turned down a side street. He turned. She went to a grocery store, parked, sat still, waiting. He parked too, 2 rows back. Pretending to wait. Pretending to exist. But his eyes never left her. Elena didn't go inside. She sat, breathing unevenly, clutching the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. Her phone, still missing, could not save her. No one knew where she was. And the man who watched her right now had just taken away her mother. She didn't know how, but she felt it. She drove back home, and he followed like a hunted animal returning to the cage. Inside the apartment, Michael was already in the kitchen stirring tea when she entered. He didn't ask her where she went. He didn't ask what she found. He didn't ask about the box she carried in. He already knew. "You left so suddenly," he said, placing a steaming mug on the counter. "I worried." Elena forced her voice to stay steady. "You followed me. I was protecting you." His tone was gentle, warm. Too warm. A temperature that burns. "You shouldn't be alone right now," he added. Her hands tightened on the box. Michael's eyes dropped to it, ever so slightly, barely noticeable, if she weren't watching him with new eyes. "What's that?" he asked. "My mother's things." "Oh?" A smile. Thin, sharp, predatory. He stepped closer. "Let me see." "Numb." The word slipped out before she could swallow it. Michael froze, not visibly, but internally, the way a predator pauses when prey suddenly runs the wrong way. "No?" he repeated softly. Elena backed away. "It's private." A slow breath left his chest. He rubbed his jaw, then nodded as if convincing himself to stay calm. "Of course," he murmured. "I respect your privacy." But the muscle in his cheek twitched. He walked away, not toward the living room, but toward the hallway. Then he disappeared behind the bedroom door. A minute later, she heard drawers opening. Searching. Inspecting. He wasn't calming down. He was cataloging. The box felt heavy in her hands, like it carried her mother's last heartbeat. She slipped into the bathroom and locked the door. Her breathing grew shallow as she quietly opened the box again, pulling out the folded letter. A second page she hadn't noticed before fell out. Her mother's handwriting, rushed and uneven. If he finds this before you do, he will destroy it. He already destroyed her. You are not safe. Elena sank to the floor, her back against the cool tiles. Destroyed her? Who was her? The woman in the photo? The one who looked terrified, standing beside a younger Michael? Her mother had known something. Something dangerous enough to hide under floorboards. Something that cost a woman her life. And maybe cost her mother hers too. Elena wiped her eyes, trying to breathe quietly. A soft knock tapped the door. Elena? Michael's voice carried through the door. Calm, curious, too smooth. What are you doing in there? She shoved the papers back into the box and stood. I'm showering. You've been quiet. I'm fine. A pause. Then his voice dropped lower. Come out when you're ready. I made lunch. His footsteps retreated. But he didn't walk away fully. She heard them linger outside the bathroom. Waiting, listening. At lunch, Michael watched her with silent intensity. His eyes never left her face as she sat across from him at the table. She didn't touch the food. Her appetite was gone. Elena, he said, swirling his fork slowly, you're keeping things from me. Her stomach clenched. What makes you say that? He smiled, a small knowing smile that made her blood run cold. Because I know you, he said. I know the way you avoid eye contact when you lie, and you've been avoiding me the entire morning. I'm grieving, she whispered. Yes, but you're also hiding something. He set his fork down, leaned back, studied her. Elena, grief makes people do irrational things. People lash out. They blame the wrong people. His voice softened. Sometimes even their own husbands. She swallowed hard. I'm not blaming you. Good. His smile widened. Because I loved your mother. You know that. Her chest tightened painfully. Numb. No, he didn't. He barely tolerated her. He controlled her. He controlled both of them. But she nodded silently, keeping her face still. Michael suddenly leaned forward, elbows on the table. You went to her house. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. Yes, she said softly. What did you do there? I looked for comfort. And nothing else? She forced a small shake of her head. No. His eyes narrowed. Most people would have missed it. The subtle shift, the tightening of his jaw, the micro-expression that screamed. Liar. He stood abruptly, walked around the table, and gently cupped her face with both hands. His touch was warm, tender, too tender. Elena, he whispered, staring into her eyes. If you keep lying to me, you're going to force me to do something we'll both regret. Her breath caught. He kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then her lips, soft, slow, chilling. He pulled away, smiled sweetly, and walked to the living room. Elena, he called, cheerful as ever. We have the memorial service to plan. Come sit with me. Her hands shook. Her skin crawled. He wasn't hiding his control anymore. Her mother warned her. And now she understood what fear truly felt like. That evening, while Michael showered, Elena quietly opened the box again and examined the old photograph more closely. It was dated 7 years ago. The woman in the photo, pale, thin, with bruises on her wrist, had written a name on the back. Sienna Root. If I disappear, he did it. He did it. The words swallowed her whole. Sienna was the woman in the restraining order. And now her mother. And now Michael was watching her like a man choosing his next move. The shower turned off. Panic flashed through her body. She shoved the items under the bed and stood just as Michael stepped out, towel around his waist, smirking as if he already knew she had been doing something she shouldn't. Elena, he said, dropping the towel, come here. Her heart stopped. Why? She whispered. Because, he said, walking toward her slowly, I hate secrets. His shadow fell over her. I really, really hate secrets. The next morning, Elena woke before dawn. Not because of an alarm. Not because of grief. Because of fear. She hadn't slept. Not really. She had spent the night lying stiffly on her side of the bed while Michael slept inches away, breathing evenly, like a man entirely at peace. His arm draped over her waist at one point, possessively, heavily, pinning her like prey. Every time she shifted, his grip tightened. As if reminding her, you're not going anywhere. When the sky finally lightened, she quietly slipped from under his arm and tiptoed toward the kitchen. She needed space, air, silence. anything that wasn't him. But when she turned on the kitchen lights, he was already there. Sitting at the table, fully dressed, hands folded, watching her. "You're up early," he said softly. She froze. He'd been waiting. "Yes," she whispered. "Couldn't sleep." Michael nodded slowly, as if he knew exactly why. Understandable. Losing a parent is destabilizing. He reached for a mug and offered it to her. "Drink." Elena stared at the cup. Something about his tone, the command in it, made her skin crawl. "I'm not thirsty." His eyes sharpened. "I said drink." Her pulse spiked. His voice didn't get louder. It got quieter. More dangerous. Elena picked up the mug with shaking fingers and pretended to sip. Steam brushed her lips. Michael observed her closely. After a long moment, he said, "There's something we need to talk about today." Her grip tightened. "What?" He tapped the table with a single finger. "Against wood. Slowly, deliberately. What you found at your mother's house." Her blood went cold. He leaned back in the chair, confidence dripping from every inch of his posture. He knew, or he guessed, or he sensed how terrified she was. "You were gone for hours," he said calmly. "And you came back. Different. Closed. Hiding something." Elena forced her expression to stay neutral. "I found nothing." Michael tilted his head, studying her as though she were a puzzle he intended to break to solve. "Lying so early in the morning?" He smiled tight, chilling. "I worry about you, Elena." He stood, moved behind her, and placed both hands on her shoulders. She flinched. "You're my wife," he murmured. "I need you to trust me." She didn't answer. His thumb stroked her skin slowly, almost affectionately, but the message underneath was clear. "I own you." Then his voice shifted. Cold, businesslike. "We will visit your mother's lawyer today." Her heart lurched. "No. I'm not ready." "You don't need to be," he said. "They found the will." Her breath stilled. "The will?" Michael's eyes gleamed with something sharp, calculating. "Yes. Apparently your mother left. Assets, property, something in storage, something important. They need you to sign paperwork." But Elena's mother had told her the opposite, over and over again. "I have nothing. I owe nothing. I own nothing." So why now? What had Michael heard? How did he know this fast? He placed his hands on the counter, caging her in. "Elena, whatever she left behind belongs to us now. Do you understand? Us. Not her. Not you. Us." He was already claiming it. She nodded, because the alternative was provoking him. "Okay." Michael kissed her forehead. "Good girl." Her stomach twisted. The lawyer's office was a glass building downtown, sterile and expensive. Elena recognized the lawyer immediately, an older woman with gray curls and tired eyes. But when the woman looked at Elena, something flickered in her expression. Sympathy, or warning. "Elena, I'm so sorry for your loss," she said gently. Michael cut in before Elena could respond. Yes, we're all grieving. Can we proceed?" The lawyer's mouth tightened. "I need to speak with Elena alone." Michael stiffened. "That won't be possible." "It's legally required," the lawyer replied. "There are personal matters involved." A pulse jumped in his jaw, but he forced a charming smile. "Of course, I'll wait outside." He placed a hand on Elena's lower back, leaned close, and whispered, "I'll be right here. Don't keep me waiting." Her stomach twisted. He left the room. The lawyer exhaled, shoulders dropping with visible relief the moment the door closed. "Elena," she said quietly, "you need to listen very carefully." Fear shot through Elena's chest. "What is it?" The lawyer leaned forward. "Your mother came to see me 2 months ago. She changed her will, and she told me explicitly that if anything happened to her suddenly, I was to give you this." She slid a sealed envelope across the desk. Elena's hands trembled as she reached for it. What is this?" "Evidence," the lawyer whispered, "about the man sitting outside." Elena's heart almost stopped. "She said you might be in danger." The room tilted. Her breath caught in her throat. "She begged me," the lawyer continued. "She said, if my daughter ever looks scared, or if she ever shows up with him beside her, give her the file." Elena felt tears burning her eyes. "What's inside?" she whispered. The lawyer's voice dropped to a breath. A police report, hospital records, financial transactions, and documentation from a missing persons case. Elena stared. Missing persons? The lawyer nodded slowly. A woman disappeared several years ago. A woman your mother believed your husband was involved with. Elena felt every muscle in her body freeze. Sienna. Her picture flashed before her eyes. The bruises, the fear, the words on the back. If I disappear, he did it. Her mother had been trying to protect her, trying to warn her. The door handle rattled. Elena gasped, clutching the envelope. Michael's voice called through the door, irritated and sharp. Elena, what's taking so long? The lawyer stood quickly. Hide it in your jacket, now. Elena shoved the envelope beneath her coat just as the door swung open. Michael stepped inside, smile plastered on his face. I got worried, he said. Everything okay? Elena forced her breathing to slow. Yes, just personal things. Michael's eyes flicked to the lawyer. He didn't trust her. Or Elena. The lawyer kept her face neutral. We're done here. Michael placed a hand on Elena's shoulder, gripping just a little too tightly. Good, he murmured. Let's go home. But as they walked out, the lawyer's voice followed Elena like a whisper of salvation. Read it when you're alone. And be careful. The car ride home was a suffocating silence. Michael kept glancing at her, studying her. His nostrils flared every time she looked away. He knew something was off. He felt it in her breathing, in the stiffness of her posture, in the tremble she tried so desperately to hide. When they pulled into the driveway, Michael placed his hand over hers, squeezing just a little too hard. Elena, he said softly, what did she tell you? Her pulse skipped. Just legal stuff. Don't lie to me. The softness vanished. His fingers tightened painfully. Michael, you're hurting me. He didn't let go. What did she say? Her mind raced. She needed to give him something, but not the truth. She asked how I was handling the memorial, Elena whispered. He stared at her, long, silent, unblinking. Then he smiled, though the smile didn't reach his eyes. Good, he said, because we need to appear united. He let go of her hand and stepped out of the car. Elena remained frozen. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. If he finds this before you do, he will destroy it. And the lawyer's voice. Be careful. Elena stared at the sealed envelope hidden beneath her coat. Tonight, when he slept, she would read everything. All of it. The truth. The evidence. The danger. But she didn't know that she wouldn't make it to nighttime. Not yet. Not with Michael's shadow following her into the house. Not with the sound she would hear next. The sound that would shift everything. A faint metallic clink coming from the attic above them. Michael froze. Elena's blood ran cold. He turned toward her slowly. What was that? He whispered. She forced her voice to stay steady. Probably. Just the pipes? Michael stepped closer. His eyes darkened. Elena, he said quietly. Your mother lived alone. No one has been in that attic for months. Her breath caught. The envelope burned against her skin. Michael reached for her wrist. We're checking it, he said. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a verdict. Her heart pounded violently as he pulled down the attic ladder. Dust floated down like dead ashes. He gestured upward. You first. Elena stared into the darkness above. She swallowed hard, because she suddenly remembered the very last line of her mother's letter. If you hear anything from the attic, run. But now she couldn't. Michael was right behind her, and whatever or whoever made that sound was already waiting, inside the darkness. The attic was dark, cold, and suffocating. Elena's heart pounded violently as she climbed the ladder, the envelope and wooden box pressed against her chest. The metallic clink had stopped, leaving only silence. A silence so complete it screamed in her ears. Michael followed closely behind, hand on her shoulder, possessive, controlling. His eyes gleamed in the faint light filtering through the attic window, calculating, unreadable. Be careful, he whispered. You never know what's hiding up here. Elena swallowed hard. The envelope burned against her skin. Every instinct told her not to go up. Her mother's words echoed like a ghost. If you hear anything from the attic, run. But she couldn't run. Not now. Not after everything. She stepped forward, one shaky foot at a time. Dust swirled in the thin beams of sunlight cutting through the cobwebs. Then, she saw it. A bundle of old boxes, stacked haphazardly near the far wall, and atop them, a small safe. Her mother had hidden it here. The letters, the evidence, everything she needed to finally expose him. Michael stepped closer. "Open it," he said. "I'll help." Elena's fingers trembled as she dialed the combination, the numbers her mother had carefully noted in her final letter. Click. The safe opened. Inside were files, photographs, USB drives, police reports, documents connecting Michael to Sienna Root, the woman who had disappeared years ago, bank statements showing unusual withdrawals, letters her mother had written to the authorities but never sent, and finally, a confession. Not a full confession, but enough. Enough to destroy him. She froze, eyes scanning every page. Michael loomed behind her, smiling faintly. "Interesting," he said. "Found what you were looking for, huh?" Elena turned slowly. She clenched the evidence in her hands. "Yes," she said softly, "and I'm done hiding it." He raised an eyebrow. "Done? You think you can beat me?" She straightened, for the first time in months. Her hands no longer shook. Her voice, though soft, carried iron. "I've been patient," she said. "I followed your games, your control, your lies, but now, it ends." Michael stepped forward, eyes cold. "And how do you plan to stop me? You're alone." Elena smiled faintly. "Not for long." With that, she pulled out her phone, the very phone Michael had stolen from her earlier. She hit record, sending a live video to the lawyer, the authorities, and her closest trusted friends. Every move he had made, every threat, every subtle form of control was now captured on video. Michael froze. What are you doing?" His smile faltered. "This," Elena said, her voice firm. "Justice." Within 48 hours, everything changed. The authorities raided his apartment, guided by the files Elena provided. They found evidence linking him to Sienna Root's disappearance and multiple fraudulent financial schemes. Media exposure followed. Headlines screamed about the missing woman and the charming husband who wasn't. His reputation collapsed. Former friends, colleagues, and neighbors turned against him when the story went public. Court documents revealed his manipulation and control, ensuring he could never harm another woman again. Michael tried to escape, to lie, to threaten, but Elena had covered every move. Each lie he told was contradicted by photographs, police reports, and the evidence her mother had so courageously hidden. He was arrested quietly, alone, defeated, and for the first time, he looked small. Elena walked into her mother's house weeks later. The warm smell of lavender greeted her. She set down the wooden box, now empty except for memories and the letters that had guided her to victory. She looked at the walls, the photos, the memories. Her mother had protected her even in death. Elena smiled through tears. For the first time in months, she felt freedom. The lawyer handed her the official documents finalizing Michael's conviction. Elena exhaled, feeling the weight lift from her chest. Justice had been served. But Elena also knew. She could never forget the fear, the tension, the moments she had trembled under his shadow. And yet, she survived. Elena finally understood her mother's last message. If you're hearing this, run. But she also learned something deeper. Sometimes, running isn't survival. Sometimes, survival is standing, gathering your courage and fighting back, not just for yourself, but for those who cannot. And in the end, arrogance crumbles, but dignity survives. If you were in Elena's shoes, would you have confronted the person who threatened you? Or would you have run, hoping for safety? Comment below. We want to know what you would do in her place.